Tristia Restore is an oddball of a title right from its inception. When bringing back Ai Umi no Trista, Kogado decided to make 2 games instead of 1. While Tristia Legacy was a faithful remaster sticking close to the source material, Restore was meant as a way for the team to explore the setting again and make it more of a dynamic action puzzler. The idea here most likely derives from the simple concept that the original gameplay is dated. As I mentioned in Tristia Legacy's review, it's noticeable how the game is from another era, and modern players would demand quality of life features. So with the original game being a little clunky and slow, why not make an action instead? Spoilers, this decision was horrible, and I unfortunately have to say Tristia Restore is hot garbage.
おじいちゃん直伝のプロスペロ流攻防術を駆使し、得意の発明で頑張ります。目指すトリスティア町おこし、故郷を遠く離れて。
Both games tell the story of Nunaka Flanca, the granddaughter of the great inventor Prospero. In order to restore the maritime town of Tristia, she works day in and day out to craft new items. She also grows closer to a cast of colorful characters, including a questionable nun and an elite classmate who has the hots for her. Tristia Restore aims to show another side of Nunako's tale. Instead of the macro-managing side, it's all about handling requests like in a fast-paced cooking game. Unfortunately, however, it adheres to this misconception that having to go fast is all that matters to make a game fun for modern audiences and lacks even an ounce of care. The result is a broken gameplay experience through and through. As requests appear at the top of the area of the screen, players have to quickly move around the room to get ingredients and shove them into the correct tool. Each request has a time limit, and some recipes demand multiple steps to be fulfilled. However, you don't have to do all of them, just a few target recipes that are enough to succeed. The first issue here is that the recipes can get very complicated, so even early on, it's already too much of a chore to know how to make all the necessary ingredients. It also fails to explain which tools you have to use, representing them by symbols, and sometimes may mean losing an entire run to understand. Despite the game's failure to introduce itself, with a poor excuse of a tutorial and things getting too complicated in the early stages, you can eventually get used to things by trial and error. But by then, it's still way too many recipes and ingredients to take track of alone. As such, the game expects you to spend some time looking up the recipes and menus during the stages, but penalizes the player as the clock never stops. To simplify matters and allow players to evolve their play, Tristia Restore offers an upgrade system. By spending coins obtained in each successful run, players should have been able to enhance Nunako's speed. However, each tool will produce an item, or add an extra stove/reactor. The truth is, none of those things work in a reasonable way. When choosing to make a tool go faster, the level 1 upgrade already makes some of them instantaneous, so there's never a reason to go beyond it. Extra stoves or reactors become pointless when you have to get an item immediately. When enhancing Nunako's speed, she'll become so fast that she'll go beyond the boundaries of the screen, making it unplayable. Lastly, there's an option to reduce the game speed when reading recipes, but it does the opposite, causing quick game overs. There's some blatant bugs that I can't imagine the team having done any balancing here, let alone a QA team ever touching it. Tristia Restore is a broken experience to release as if it was a finalized product, but even fixing some of the issues would not be enough to make it more of a mediocre game. The tool's functionality is one instance that shows the issues of their inception. Each device is a different minigame, so you press the button a few times to cut materials or do other QuickTime events when requesting your AI partner's help. How can you handle multiple tasks simultaneously when you're stuck playing with your dog to get materials? Some of those appliances will still take time getting the job done, but that only makes things more frustrating under the constant pressure of time. Tristia Restore is thoroughly unbalanced, poorly designed, and a regrettable waste of a good concept. The developers seem to have so many ideas, throwing them into a cauldron and never bothered to check if things would work. Without a clear vision, this was already a recipe for disaster, but the apparent lack of care and polish added insult to injury. The only thing that could be interesting in this game is a few story bits here and there, We get to revisit some of the moments of the original game from a different perspective. It's neat to see the characters again, and there are a few new CGs, but even in those, the game feels like an empty Tristia husk. When retelling the story, Nanako starts with a summary of the events. It skips many details and tries to play it as if Nanako didn't care much about the accurate rendition of things. While scenes aren't short, it all feels cynical and falls short when trying to capture the magic of the original title. Other issues include missing graphic elements, untranslated menu texts, and bad choices for items named in English, which could also be found in Tristia Legacy. It looks like they just threw it on Steam checking if the game loaded and never actually did any playtesting to the builds. Tristia Restore is fundamentally broken. It is one of the worst experiences I have ever touched in video games, and the first time in my life I have ever felt regret for playing one. I wish I had Nanako's skills to make a time machine and tell the developers to invest a little more money in this experience instead, or at least put some towards QA, because this game deserved more. Noisy Pixel is giving Tristia Restore a 2 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Please read the full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.